welcome back to Conversations with the Crawleys. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And we're the Crawleys, and we have conversations for your entertainment, enjoyment, and just because we can. We talk about things related to reality TV, relationships, current events, you name it, we talk about it. And we do this on this channel. So if this is content that you enjoy, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. This particular video is all about Married at First Sight.
Yes.
We are nearing the end, right?
Right.
So we'll see kind of how things are going. I still have some hope for at least one couple.
Okay.
At least one. All right. Let's kick off talking about the couple that wasn't there, and let's just dedicate 10 seconds to them. Chris and Paige.
I'm so glad that it's over.
Yes, the long national nightmare of Chris and Paige is at least off of our screens for a little bit.
Yes.
Looks like they'll be back, of course, I would imagine, for decision day and reunion.
Yeah.
The decision's been made.
It's been made, and I'm glad that Paige can move on.
Yes.
I think she'll find the person that she's meant to be with, and I'll be excited. I hope they update us on that.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about Briana and Vincent, who still my couple that I think that they're still on track to come out of this good, moving forward, making a positive decision.
Yeah, I think they're doing really well. Obviously, there's things they have to work through. I mean, they've been together 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So I guess as they continue to talk and to grow, learn each other and mature, right?
Yeah.
I think they have a bright future. So I'm excited to see their relationship blossom even in the last couple of weeks we see on air.
Absolutely. And this episode, this one was all about really kind of showing each other parts of your life.
Right.
So
family,
she brought him, with her, she used to do dance and kind of gave it up. One of the things that she talked about was the whole dark skin, light skin thing.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know what that is, in the Black community, in the African American community, really it's a holdover from slavery, in my opinion, right? Or at least from the prejudice that we have of light skin versus dark skin. And so she kind of talks through that. And for Vince, who may not be fully aware of that, she was kind of bringing that to him as well. And how that was something that she was passionate about as far as dance before she thought, maybe I won't make money from it and I don't feel beautiful and all this stuff. So
and how she kind of deal with that. And so he wasn't aware that that was something that she had struggled with as a teenager, but you struggle with identity and all that as well. So I think being able to share moments and stuff like that helps. He shared about being from the Dominican Republic and he remembers being there as a child.
Right.
And so he took her to a place where
the bodega.
Yes, where it's a store and a restaurant, shared food with her and stuff. But he talked about why family is so important to him. Right. Because he was left there with a aunt and his parents and some kind of moved to the States to kind of make a better life for them and get started before he came. Yeah. So I think that's kind of making her understand more why he wants to be a dad and them have kids and different things like that. So.
And it's a good way for them to kind of, again, gain the perspective of each other, right?
Right.
To kind of see what's important, because I think it also plays a part in the way he looks at money and resources and finances.
Correct. Because he said he grew up with nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that all plays a part. And so I'm still excited about them. I still think that they're on the right track.
Oh, sure.
They're, every couple's going to have some disagreements. So that's not unusual. But I think that they're moving forward in a positive manner. Right. All right. Then let's talk about the couple that it seems to be stuck, because they are still not having intimacy or having intercourse.
Clara and Ryan. I'm going to tell Claire to give up on this one. Only from the fact that there's no progression. Am I saying that right?
Progression, yeah.
Progression and timeline.
Right.
So I can work with you saying, you know what? Give me about 5 months.
Right.
Right. And I feel like at that point, I should be at a certain point.
Right.
And that helps me to decide, do I see progression? Are we getting to that 5-month mark and we're doing well? But you give me nothing.
Right.
And what's my hope based off of?
Yeah, because he meets with her mom, right?
Yeah, he's talking to her.
And talking about having kids. And we were like,
how you have kids without sex? Biologically,
I don't know.
There's options, but I think Claire would like to have it the natural, biblical way since we want to go to church.
Abraham knew his wife Sarah.
Right.
And that doesn't just mean he knew who she was. He knew her.
Will Ryan know?
Will Ryan know Clara? That's the question.
That's the question. So I'm like, when because then you be like, should I start backwards? Should Claire go, so when do you want to have kids?
Right.
If he doesn't, he's like, oh, I want to start trying immediately. Okay, that gives me hope. But if he said, oh, I don't want kids for 5 years from now.
That means you might be without for 5 years, baby girl.
It's going to be cobwebs. It's going to be all dried up.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff can happen. It can fall out. I don't know. But I don't think she wants to wait that long. I don't understand. I mean, and I don't want to judge anybody, but I'm like, I feel like there's something missing because it doesn't, in my head, and tell me if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. Mm-hmm. Is that natural for people to really, I believe in abstinency. I believe in,
abstinence and everything.
And you waiting until you get married.
Right.
That was the part.
Right.
And granted, they don't know each other, but even in past seasons, couple says, okay, I want to finish taping. And after we finish taping, and I feel like we decided to make that decision to stay together.
Right.
I'm all in.
But that's the timeline. That's kind of the conversation to say, this is what we can look forward to. Let's work on this.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But she's left in this state of, we're working on this. I want to get to this. We're playing around with this.
Right.
We're doing all the other things but this.
Right.
But there's no timeline.
Yeah. And, what she shares about a little bit about her life.
Right. So one of the things that we get to see, because one of the sticking points, if you will, for them is he wants to raise the kids in the church.
Right.
At least now, it may not have been in his interview originally with Married at First Sight, but at least now it seems like children in church are really important to him. Mm-hmm. But something that she kind of shared from her parents kind of gave me some insight to why church may be a barrier for her, because she talks about how her parents are really strict, and she had this Usher CD and
she broke
her mother broke it, talking about it was inappropriate. Listen, that Usher CD, that confession CD, that was a nice CD, right?
Right. Well, I guess because even in my house we couldn't have secular music.
Yes. So
I mean, I get being strict, but I think she talks about more from the perspective of when she was in church.
Right.
But it does give some insight. But see, this is the thing. She had a prom dress. So that means she went to the prom. She sung in a chorus or a choir or whatever. And what she was wearing, it seems a little bit...
So it may have been how it was handled.
Right.
And each generation handles their kids differently. We've handled our kids differently than our parents handled us in some respects.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that though may be what's coloring some of her take on her kids in church. Right?
It's possible. So I guess we'll see. Me personally, I couldn't stay. I just couldn't wait.
You wouldn't have to worry about it. But that's a whole other story. You wouldn't have to worry about it. All right. Listen. All right. Let's talk Erik and Virginia.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Now, the first thing that made me laugh was he was sharing like his medals and his stuff from military, whatever.
Yeah.
And she basically was like, oh, like Boy Scout patches. And she almost like, oh, okay, you want some awards? Cool, awesome. And you could tell in his face was like, wow, she just kind of
dismissed this.
Just missed this, right?
Well, I guess it depends because of the way he always come off so arrogant.
Yes.
And I think that's why she doesn't feel honorable. I guess that's what he was looking for her to do by showing that
for her to be impressed by it or whatever.
Right.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like Boy Scouts. You get patches. Listen, you earn patches.
His privilege shows every time he talks.
Well, hey, that's kind of dude she signed up for.
Yeah.
And she got it. And I think it's becoming a little overwhelming.
Right.
And them being able to discuss things because this concept of marriage, looking from the lens, and I think everyone does this and they take it at different degrees, but we try to mirror what we see.
Right.
And like, that's what the standard of marriage is, or we want to mirror this and this is the standard of marriage. And I think sometimes it's a little shaded because you're seeing from the outside in.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. And so with that being the case, you think, oh, this is perfect. Well, that's perfect for them.
Right.
It may not be perfect for you.
Right.
So why not create together what your marriage looks like instead of he keeps coming up with his own ideology of what he think marriage is and think like, okay, Virginia, fit into what I'm seeing for marriage.
Right. Now, there is the conversation which I get what he's saying where, he's like, I don't want you necessarily sleeping over someone else's house. And all those things. So I completely get it. And that's a battle that she's fighting that I'm like, why are you fighting that battle? There's other battles that you can fight with him.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about being married, that to me, I'm sorry, but that would be a flag if constantly in our marriage, you're sleeping over at your guy friend's house.
Right. I think those are the nights where we ain't gonna overdrink, right?
Right.
Because if you want to be safe and drink, you want to have your guy friend maybe get you a ride share, and then make sure that they see you get off and get home, and call me when you get in.
Right.
Those are all appropriate things that a friend should do, period. Right. But if you feel like you're going to drink with your guy friends, well, maybe they come over your house and then they leave.
Right.
Make some alternatives or some compromises where your husband will feel comfortable. You as now a married woman will show that you're doing things with integrity or whatever and better. Because as a married person, I don't want to be hanging out till I'm staying the night over my guy friend's house. And
I mean, for me, just because I've had friends that were like sisters to me, right? Yeah. And just so my wife, you knew them, you met them. Yeah. We were very close.
Hung out with them all together.
But there was a switch after we got married where I didn't hang out with them as much.
Right.
We would see them. It would be, okay, cool. Right. But the relationship changed.
Right.
And I think even on their side, they recognized that the relationship was changing.
Right.
So I think from her friend's side, I don't know why they're not seeing that the relationship might need to shift as well.
Or maybe they are. And she's not wanting to switch.
That's true.
And that might be the thing where she's feeling like, oh, wow, I have to change. Well, you do because you're no longer single. So you will change.
Right.
And that dynamics of your relationship is going to look different.
Exactly. All right. And then bracelet gate.
Ooh.
So Haley and Jacob.
Yes.
Who they've gone back and up and down on my list. They started off like
I don't know why they were on your list.
No, there were periods where I could see something, but his awkwardness, the way she responded to him, kept pulling them further down. Then last week they made some progress. I felt they at least were cordial. They seem to be they seem to at least still be wanting to work together towards a relationship, right? They start off going to the batting cages.
Right, because she used to play softball and wanted to show like her skill set.
Right.
He was horrible. He was saying the ball wasn't going fast enough.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
is that true?
60 miles an hour. I mean,
is that kind of slow if you're used to?
If you're a professional baseball player, 60 miles an hour is slow. Okay. Right. You're talking 80, 90 miles an hour. Fastballs, changeup might be 70 miles an hour.
Right.
But I don't think he's a pro level. I don't think
he should have been able to hit a 60.
Now it may have been too fast for him.
Right, maybe he should have said that. Right. But he kept saying it was too slow.
It was like,
should have been going faster.
Dude, you might want to dial that down to like 30, 40. That might have been about your speed, and then work up from there.
I was like, I don't play baseball, so I don't know how fast that ball, but it seemed like it was coming fast to me.
Yeah.
But so he didn't do well, and then they went miniature golfing. Right. We call it putt-putt. But they went miniature golfing because that's what he did as a child. He's like his mom worked nights and take them, where they could hang out and she could watch them while she napped during.
Now, did you all pick up, though, the fact, and again, put this in the comments if you picked up on this, the names that he assigned to them. He's calling himself Eagle.
And called her Dragon.
Listen, that's not a term of endearment.
It doesn't sound like
it. Doesn't sound like he was paying her a compliment. He was like, nah, you're a fire-breathing dragon.
He asked her. She's like, do you use names? You want to use names? And she goes, no, I just want my name. She's like, okay, your name will be Dragon.
And I'll be Eagle.
And I'll be an eagle. I'd be like, you're not calling me. Let's come up with something else.
And he kept going back to it. He's like, so the score is Eagle and Dragon.
I loved it. It was hilarious. But so they get to the point where they're supposed to share something from their journal.
Right. Because the assignment that the couples had was write a letter to your younger self.
Correct.
Right. So she writes a novel to herself.
Right.
He writes two lines to himself.
Right.
2 sentences.
Right. And she doesn't seem very like, oh wow, that's it. That's all you have. Right. And he was like, well, this is what I would say to myself. And
he, because of how I believe he is as a thinker.
Yes.
His thought is, if I were to tell he sounds very literal in some respects.
Right.
And that if I tell my younger self to don't do this and don't do that, I may not have gotten all the experiences that I was designed to get. Mm-hmm. And so now my life is completely different. So it's not like my life got better. Mm-hmm. Right. Which that's one theory, one thought.
That's right.
But she presses him on it. Right.
Right. And he goes.
And he's like, well, if you're asking.
Oh, and he goes, I shouldn't say this. But about the bracelet.
Right.
And he's like, okay. And then they start showing all the scenarios with the bracelet. Where she thought it was, you're right, because they wasn't sharing.
Right. We hadn't seen anything about the bracelet. It wasn't really a big thing for her.
No. And then she's like, originally, after they, did their vows, he asked, like, hey, you like my gift? He was like, oh, the necklace. He was like, no, the bracelet I gave you. Mm-hmm. And from there, it was like, and he's like, you had your mom take the bracelet back with her
to Alabama.
It's not even the same state where you live. Right. So I think he was saying, okay, you didn't treasure what I valued in the bracelet. You could have told me.
Right.
Maybe I could have switched in it. He could have switched it for something else.
Right.
Possibly if she asked. But he was just like, he's like, I felt disrespected.
And I completely get it because I mean, think about it. This is the gift that he was giving to his wife
that he didn't know.
That he didn't know.
Meet yet.
So he's like, let me go ahead and put some effort into this. Yes. Let me get her something.
Yes.
So the first flag, when she says it's a necklace, and he's like, it's a bracelet, that would tell me that you didn't really look at it. You kind of just opened it up. Oh, that's nice. Now, not saying that that's what she did, but that's what would come off to me, right?
It said it in the video. She did. Well, her friend opened it. True. And she said, oh, it's an infinity.
So then from there, again, like we said, it's not like it's a toaster. It's not like it's a crock pot. It's not like something that
like she had 2 or 3 of.
Right. That would be something that I would expect that once you see that and recognize that, you're going to go back to the room because you still have stuff in the room. It's not as if you just left from... I don't believe that they left straight from the wedding and went right to honeymoon and right to...
I think I would say for me, it was not her being honest about how she felt about the gift.
Right.
I think it would have been better for him. She's like, if she would have said, you know what, I'm not into the infinity sign, or
whatever the
issue is, and then say, I love that you thought of me.
Right.
How about, could we possibly change it in for something else now that you know me and have a chance to meet me? I want to wear something from you. Can we do it together? And I think he would have been very open to that.
Absolutely. But she tries to throw it back on him.
Oh, yeah, there's every excuse.
Well, you know, what about the Alabama hat that I gave you?
Yeah, the Alabama hat too. That wasn't as personal either.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, you know, it's a place that's familiar to you, or maybe it's school you went to. I don't know.
No, he says he's not into college teams.
Right, but I'm saying for her.
Oh, for her.
To give it to him.
Yeah.
It may be a symbol of this is who I am, but it's not necessarily a gift that you give to your spouse.
Right.
Right? That'd be like me giving you an Xbox.
Right. Right.
You'd be like, what am I going to do with this? Right.
Watch TV, pretty much it.
Right. So at the end of the day, it was like you give him a gift that doesn't really make sense from the perspective of, yes, you don't know him, but it's still not something to give to him.
Right.
And so then she's like, well, I gave it to you. And he's essentially like, but I still know where it's at.
Right. He's like, it's still, it's I brought it with me to the apartment.
Right.
Because it came from you.
Right.
So I want to show you that I'm finding value in it, even though I'm not into that.
It's not something I can, if I wanted to wear it, I can put it on.
Right.
You don't have the ability to put it on what I gave you.
He's like, you could have asked your mother several times to ship it here he's like, for $10 or less.
I know several delivery services.
You can get it here in 2 days.
So then she talks with her mom, and so mom,
oh my God, co-signs
it.
I'm just like, but I'm thinking, okay, so your mom, you are like your mom, but your mom was able to get married. See, what worked for your parents
didn't work for you.
Sometimes don't work for you about you snatching somebody up. So obviously your approach, because one thing that Dr. Pepper mentions as she's visiting all of the couples to see if they're really talking and focusing on their next steps is that she's like, you're making no effort,
right, and
you're not showing any respect or any like value to him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's went right over her head. Instead of her wanting to grow,
right,
she goes running to what's familiar that's going to say yes to her.
And affirm what she's already thinking.
And affirm what she's been doing the whole time.
Yep.
And so I think that's a moment everyone should take. If we can take a side note or the sidebar here.
Go ahead. Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, when people are trying to help you grow, sometimes we don't want to grow.
Right.
We want to go back to the friends that's going to just keep telling us to be stuck, to do the same things in a relationships, to reconfirm what's not working because we're comfortable with that. Instead of saying, you know what, someone is showing me a different light in myself, someone who's licensed to do so.
Right.
And then someone else is challenging me that looking at me at a different perspective.
Because you've signed up to step outside of your comfort zone.
Pretty much.
Get outside of your comfort zone. Stop running to mama about stuff. And help and work to figure out your marriage, your relationship.
And what you want to do.
Right.
And guess what? She's always putting her perspective. And sometimes we do that. You know, like, well, why you always wear dress shoes when it's an event?
Yeah.
And he's like, because she's like, that's not comfortable. He's like, it's comfortable for me.
Yeah,
you know, he's like, he's like, I don't like.
I'm not a tennis shoe person.
Or gym shoes or whatever. He said, they're not comfortable for me.
Right.
You know, so Dr. Pepper talks about her being judgmental.
Yes.
So, hey.
Yeah, because she picks at the fact that he goes to the batting cage. And they weren't dress shoes. I think they were more like cowboy boots, or boots is what they looked like. They didn't.
It's hard to tell. I think it was dress shoes, but he was wearing his cowboy boots.
Okay.
Now, my understanding, people who love to wear cowboy boots,
they find them very comfortable.
They break them in and they wear them anything, running, you name it.
Yeah, I don't know about running, but
they run to get on the bulls and the horses and stuff.
Yes.
So I mean, they wear them more often, than they would a pair of tennis shoes.
Right. So, but again, she's picking at him and she's not working on her own issues. So. So I think that's it for the couples this week.
Yeah,
right?
That's all the couples. So we'll see. So right now we got 1 out of 3.
1 out of 5.
There's 5 couples.
There's 5 couples.
Oh,
one's
no,
already
not.
One's already done.
I don't even count them.
Okay,
no
so then fine. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 couples.
I'm so sorry, but Paige, she's like, Paige moved on. I moved on.
Listen, they need to give Paige a Married at First Sight second chance season all to herself.
I don't know if I would do that. Would do you think Paige would allow them another opportunity to mess over her.
Well, if they do it, because remember they did do the Married at First Sight second chances before with I forget those two people, and the one guy turned out to be really bad, really horrible. But it was not where they set them up with one person; they set them up with several people that they could then choose from to go on dates with and things of that nature.
Okay.
So I would say let's do that for Paige. Give her the opportunity.
Okay, I can
since they made such a mess up.
And based off of Chris, I would say Chris fooled everybody, and I don't believe everything he was putting on paper translated. So I give him a little bit, but I don't. Not all of it. Not all their fault, but
yeah, it's not all of the.
No,
it's not all of the
experts' fault.
They just didn't ask the right questions. They didn't do the background check they should have. Now, yes, he did probably fudge some stuff on the paperwork and what have you. Yeah. Absolutely, but they didn't. That to me tells me that they need to ask better questions and maybe interview other people as part of their vetting process.
If they don't
interview the friends, when's the last time you were engaged? That's a question that you wouldn't think you would have to ask.
I would think so,
but it's a question that needs to be asked, especially after this. So, all right. So listen, that's all for this video, for this episode. Make sure you are hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button. And make sure you check out the other videos because we've got other reviews that we're doing. Ready to Love is happening right now. And we've got other things that are popping on this channel. So we look forward to seeing you again. Be blessed. Have a great one. We'll see y'all.